Hey folks, it's your general again, coming at you with another Ollie-less episode, not doing the intros, theme songs, all that jazz. You know the drill. I got a big trip coming up and I've had a lot of changes going on in a lot of my regular workflows. Some big new advances and various things I'm doing. And so just to keep myself sane, I am just going to record a very simple intro and tell you that this one comes to us from 12/18, 2025. It was actually our last one for 2025. We didn't have any major things going on outside of my birthday stream on December 30th. Just people were too busy with the holidays. So this will be the last one that we're rolling out from 2025. We're finally getting into 2026 with the next one. But I hope you guys enjoy. We'll talk to you soon. And for those who are listening, who I'll see in OKC coming up next week, looking forward to it. See y'all soon.
It was okay. How about you?
Not bad, not bad. Aaron said he had something to share in a little bit. It's waiting to see if some other folk show up. I'm just kind of getting myself together. Looking at a few things, still waiting on payment for a book. Yeah. So just like I told him, kind of taking it easy leading into Christmas because I got most of my stuff that was really important deadlines wise done before Christmas. So just kind of mostly helping with house stuff recently because Casey's pregnant and tired and trying to give her a break and kids a break and have some more fun with me, during Christmas time. So yeah, that's been a little bit more important than the other stuff right now. So yeah.
That's nice. I'm kind of getting some Christmas stuff together. I'm stringing some beads.
Very nice.
On a string.
Is it got to go on a tree or on a wall? Like,
I'm using a little wooden cross that I bought at Hobby Lobby, and I'm making kind of like a window hanger for my grandma.
Gotcha. Very nice.
I think she'll like it. I hope so.
Yep.
Sweet.
Not seeing your video if you're trying to show me.
No. I'm sorry.
Okay. I thought you were.
No,
let's see.
I was trying to open something. Beatbox.
Oh,
I can send a picture of it.
Sure, whatever you want to do. I was just not sure. Let's see. I am. Oh my goodness. What? Like I said, I'm kind of just looking around at things. I was kind of looking at today. I had never really considered somewhere between Opelousas where Jesse is and OKC where Alex is. It's always kind of been either or, and so just for the fun of it, I started looking at some of the spaces in between, and it's all like Northeast Texas, and there's some nice areas. There's Texarkana, not super nice, but it's like it's an interesting town, and then you have Shreveport technically, but Shreveport is weird. And then what was the other one? Like Mount Vernon, I think it was area. Kind of near Paris, Texas, around there. Looks interesting.
These are all places I've heard of.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm not very familiar with Texas geography. Kind of not.
Yeah, it's all like Northeast Texas, and so I'm just trying to play around and see. There's actually an Atlanta, Texas, in that area, which is funny. Yeah, but just trying to see like if that would be what the benefits would be of being in between. The obvious benefit being that being 3 hours either direction from Jesse or Alex would potentially be good, especially if we can get a place that would be good enough to have events at, enough people around it that would want events, parties, weddings, etc. But would be kind of out of the way. Also, Texas is a decent state to do business and homeschooling and those sorts of things in. Oklahoma's a little bit better in a lot of ways. Not always, but a lot of ways. And then Louisiana isn't as terrible as it used to be. So,
yeah, you could 3 hours away from them both.
Yep, and I'd be closer to y'all too, whatever the case was. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, you'd only be like a couple hours from San Antonio.
Yeah, yeah.
Or something.
So, yeah, exactly. So, that's one area that seems pretty decent. It seems to me the best bet is probably going to be still in the OKC area, except for, well, you still have the same issue in everywhere, but probably Opelousas. I would likely have a job with Jesse in Opelousas. Like I said, likely. It wouldn't be guaranteed at the moment, but like if we started talking about it, it would be likely that I would have a job there fairly quickly. Oklahoma, I have a little less likely of a chance, but I have Alex and we could be able to figure something out. You know, I have locals on the ground to help me. The other one, I have a lot less of a chance of finding something, depending on how things go. But I feel like I have a better chance in Texas than I do like moving to another city in Georgia, because just moving from Atlanta to Augusta, it took me a good year to find any kind of job. And the first one was an under the table job at a Chinese restaurant a couple days a week. And then I finally got a non-emergency medical transport job. But it's just, it's a town where everybody feels like they have to know you, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of good old boy networks and everyone's like, my cousin's got this. Da, da, da. So the new guy in town is out of luck for a long time. So
yeah, 'cause you're a furner.
Yeah, apparently being from Atlanta, 3 hours west. Not even Atlanta, Alpharetta. Not even Atlanta, though. Alpharetta. It's not like I'm Lil Jon. One of my favorite jokes is people go, oh, you're from, where are you from? You know, from the United States kind of thing. And I'll say Alpharetta. They're like, okay, that's near Atlanta, right? And I'm like, yeah, kind of. And they're like, this is Hotlanta, Braves, Migos, the Lil Jon, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. I lived in an area that was increasingly being pushed out by the city, but like it was all horse farms when I grew up, like until the Olympics hit, and then things started getting to suburbs. And then by the time I left, it was a full on, like, you know, the edges of the big industrial part of Atlanta. Well, no, it wasn't industrial. Basically, like all the hipsters that wanted to create barbecue joints and fusion restaurants basically took over Alpharetta.
Yeah.
And the other part of that was the offices with not tech support. What would you call that? Basically, like IT. It became a major IT center, as well as a decent shipping and receiving district. You know, a lot of shipping and receiving and IT work and stuff like that. So, yeah. So a lot of people have money there, supposedly. But they keep building these giant live work spaces, whatever that means. And like none of them are big enough for a family. They're all like for single people. And I'm just like, who's actually getting these jobs and getting these places and wanting to live in these things? So, like,
single people.
Well, in one sense, they're forward thinking. Like, they're like, we want to create walkable spaces where people have convenience, so that they want to come here and work for these companies, right? And then we can get the companies who want those people locally, so there's less of, you know, strain on, you know, all the traffic and stuff. And when they hear Atlanta, one of the first things people go is, oh, traffic, that sounds terrible. I don't want to commute. Guess what? You don't have to. Like, I understand all of this.
Yeah.
But
I believe my sister went on a road trip through Atlanta, and she said it was awful traffic-wise.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's
And the car broke down.
except for maybe Los Angeles, I'd say it's probably the worst for traffic. So
Yeah, so I can understand the appeal of not driving.
Yeah, but I think that people who want to move to Georgia, particularly Atlanta area, culturally, unless you're a gay person wanting to be downtown, most people actually want to like raise a family here. Like it's still a conservative area and has been for generations out of mind, you know? So I'm like, it's just so weird. I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Me neither.
Yeah, Alex is always talking about the walkable spaces and stuff and creating these things. I'm like, yeah, on one hand, yeah, cool, but none of that in the modern day has been family friendly ever.
As I say, it's a very culturally modern thing, and modern culture is not desirable to raise your family in.
Right.
Yeah, it's just modern culture in general. I mean,
yep.
The thing is, what people think that culture is this bottom up thing, but most of the time it's very much top down. And you know, in most eras of history, in large civilizations, culture comes from the elite, and kind of the elite have a lot of cultural influence. Is basically what I'm saying. And you know, the elite for decades have literally been trying to lower the global population, and that's going to have a massive cultural effect.
Right.
That's true.
I agree with you on that. The one thing I will say, it kind of depends on how disproportionate the elite are to the lower classes, and how large the elite class is. Right now, we have a very ballooned bureaucratic elite class, and because they mostly deal with each other, they feel like they can justify, well, everyone can live like this if they work hard enough, sort of an idea. And so they kind of just leave it at that without much more thought. And a lot of people would much prefer to have a George Bailey life than a Mr. Potter life. So, you know.
Yeah. Of course, the internet does allow for a little bit more of a democratized culture. But, you know, there's trade-offs for everything, and really it doesn't counteract the advantages that the elite have, because even, you know, whenever you have more isolated cultural groups, it you know, like in the pre-internet world, pre-mass media and stuff like that, you still had culture that sprung up from local ideas, essentially. Because in a pre-modern world, it's very difficult for the elite to influence, you know, rural culture without spending a whole lot of resources that they don't necessarily have. Mm-hmm. That did change with mass media, and that does change with the internet. So, like, even though the internet does allow some democratization, because of the interconnection of people, that is still counteracted by the fact that it also makes it easier for the elite to get their message out there.
Yes, the one thing that's in there too is subcultures used to form in rural areas, like you were saying, but they more so form online now. For good and ill.
Yeah.
And the other part is we had a much more monolithic culture during TV time. It was just that there were a lot more stark, because we hadn't gotten to the point where the global elites were really hobnobbing nearly as much as they are now. But they were just starting to right as the internet started coming in. And so basically, like, TV and radio essentially made us have sort of this nationalistic monoculture across mass media. And it started killing accents. People were, starting to try and be more American than they were Georgian or Tennessean or whatever, right? So
yeah, and now subcultures emerge online. But where we're at now, subcultures need to go. They start online now, but they need to become incarnate. Because that's just that's one of the things that's beginning to happen. You see it with, but the first groups that you're seeing it with are unfortunately the white supremacists. You have Return to the Land. I know
they do exist, but before that, we have we do start getting other groups little earlier. We start getting other my brain is blanking. There have been some more groups before the reintroduction of quote unquote white supremacist ideas, because they are neo. That's not the same as what it was back in the even the early 1900s. They're entirely different. They have a Wendell Berry slant to them, which makes no sense.
I don't know what Wendell Berry is.
Wendell Berry is a guy who writes a lot of different stuff, but he writes fiction, nonfiction, and he very much has in my opinion, overly romanticized an overly romanticized understanding of rural farm life, and kind of just cozy culture. He has good points about some things, but he has kind of this almost woo-woo hippie spiritual, but it's like very, very localized country version of that. Kind of hard to explain. He has some good stuff. Like I said, it's not all bad, but it's just my thing is I don't like any of the choices, quote unquote, in the urban, suburban, rural situations right now. I don't like any of them. Yeah. And the reason go ahead.
None of them are communities that were built around churches.
That's really a major, probably biggest thing. But there's also other stuff like, I think that the overregulation of oil and resources and everyone fighting over all of them has caused gas prices to soar to a place that if we had the proper gas prices, the culture of automotives that started in the 40s, 50s, post World War II, we actually had something going that was uniquely American, the Route 66 kind of culture. And then we started getting interstates and trying to overregulate and make everything far more, centralized and less democratized. And the whole idea of being able to drive anywhere, and you've got these open borders between the states and all this other kind of stuff, it was creating a completely different thing and was allowing for more people to go places and do what they need to do. It was very much an extension of kind of cowboy culture, and a lot of other stuff. And I think it would have morphed into something that still had the church in mind and was more about like serving people as they were moving throughout this vast, huge nation. But of course, people on the move equals growth. People find each other, they get married, they have kids, all this other kinds of stuff. Like if we had that with the internet, there would be no stopping anybody from doing anything. And we can't have that kind of chaos and anarchy, right? But I think that I really think that was something that it's not just gas prices. Like there's a lot more to it than that. But like I do think that regardless of anything related to fossil fuels or energy or the resources or blah, 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 which everyone tries to make it about that. the concept of being able to move wherever you need to go, and I don't mean move like move and put down roots, but actually being able to freely meet, freely associate, is very much tied to a lot of the early ideals of, you know, the Constitution and other things like that. And especially with COVID and all the stuff that went down in 2020, I feel like everyone feels like they're stuck. We're dealing with a lot of that in the brood right now. And if we didn't feel stuck, if we were all able to meet up in freaking Texarkana or wherever, like, I don't think there'd be any stopping us. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and why do you think we feel stuck? I mean, I'm sorry, I need you to say that again. Why do you think we feel stuck?
Well, I was saying because of COVID, because of the fact that the economy the way it is and the way everything's structured right now, we cannot easily pick up and go somewhere, right? Even for a small amount of time. Whereas even 20 years ago, if I wanted to drive to Oklahoma one week and I had the job that I have now, like if or something similar to it where I could earn money online like I do, which most of mine is online, not all of it, most of it. Like basically there would be almost no stopping me. I could just go, I could set up, I could do what I need to do. I could come back and I could do that a couple times in order to, you know, get my footing. But now anyone trying to travel, it's like, and there's been a crackdown on, because of COVID and everyone being like, okay, you got to get back to work in person. I don't necessarily have a problem with that in a lot of cases. Most jobs do still require an in-person thing, but there are a lot of jobs that don't, that they seem to kind of just want to make people be in the office for seemingly no reason too. So there's two sides to that. But there's been this crackdown not just on being in the office, but the amount of hours you work in our reporting, because there are a lot of bad actors. And as a result, I'm seeing people who actually have good intentions being the ones with the biggest anxiety that they have to be at work every day. Right? Otherwise, I'm going to lose my job. So scared, you know, etc. And a lot of people are terrified of not having stability, rightly so in a lot of cases, you know.
Yeah.
And I think all of that combines to make people not want to be able to go and move and do what they need to do. For me, the things holding me back are purely covenantal. I have a woman who my wife has promised to live in her backyard. We live in her backyard until she dies. That is the first thing. We've covenanted with her and promised in that regard, and we're going to keep that promise. My mother is in the Atlanta area, and we've told her that we're going to make sure that she's taken care of one way or the other, whatever it takes. And so that's the other one. Outside of those two things, and it doesn't mean we're going to be here with her till she dies, but we're going to make sure she's good, whatever we have to do. And we may end up living with her sometime, you know, in the near future. We might not. Just, it's really kind of up in the air, but we're there for her. That's the point. Those are the two things that I have to make sure are taken care of. Then it really is a question of Opelousas, OKC, or somewhere in between, you know, or wherever God is leading us. But we do feel we need to get west of the Mississippi. That seems abundantly clear to us. A lot of that has to do with the brood. A lot of that has to do with Poets at War and trying to set up Poets at War Press, you know, and our Poets at War, whatever we're going to call it, event center, and start our business and get moving on that. But, I just, yeah, like I said, people feel stuck. And I think a lot of it comes down to finances, and it comes down to worry about stability. I'm not, those things don't affect me as much. It's literally more so the covenants for me, like the promises that I've made to the people of God.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for me, it's not just worries about stability. It's having no idea where I would go other than where I am. Right. And that, because I don't have anyone to provide for, you know. A lack of stability does still suck, because that prevents my ability to financially build up and to, you know, make myself a more desirable partner. And, you know, it prevents my ultimate goals in life. But It's still not. It still wouldn't be a crisis if I wasn't stable. I don't know what I would do.
Right. You have lack of vision
Um,
in that case.
yes, lack of vision.
Yeah. And that's something that I know you're younger. God's working that out in your life, whatever the case may be, whatever ends up happening. So,
the one, there are different, things that I'm trying to think about what I actually think is important and what I actually care about.
mm-hmm.
One of those things is that whenever I look at the current situation, thinking a bit big, but just looking at the current situation globally, I see that the world for the past few hundred years, we've been growing exponentially in a lot of ways, and that's a good thing. It's very great to live during times of exponential growth. But, that has to come to an end one day, and coming to an end would not be that great when it happens. But what I'm seeing what
when you say come to an end, do you mean a stop or do you mean a reversion?
What I mean is that we would hit a limit. It would whenever we see any animal population get access to new resources, it does grow exponentially. And then after a time, it does have a crash, but it usually doesn't crash to the level it was at before. It crashes to a higher level. So it's not like a reverse.
So not a full reversion, but a slight.
But it's
decline.
Just like, generally speaking, exponential growth will overshoot the available resources, but it won't overshoot it by far before it goes down.
Self-corrects. Yeah. Okay.
But what I am seeing is that it doesn't appear to be the case that it's necessary for it to stop right now. If it is possible for humanity to go into space. And what I think needs to be done, one of the things I think is important is just pushing for the people who actually have access to these resources to advocate that they focus on stuff that could actually benefit humanity long term, like developing these technologies for space exploration. And yes, even AI, but not nearly as much as they're putting in right now.
Oh yeah, no.
But
yeah.
But like this whole focus that our society and our elite has on just short-term profit, it's really harmful to our current society, and it can easily cause a global crisis. And because it's just short-term thinking, and there's this seemingly achievable goal, but maybe it's not achievable. Maybe it's not. But even if it's not, even trying is going to help.
Right. Yes, I agree.
And maybe what I want to do is find some way I can advocate for that and try to influence people towards that and give them actual hope and belief that we can do something. And but
yeah,
maybe that's something I think of sometimes.
Yeah. It's a vague idea, but it is a direction. Yeah. I got you. Yeah. I think you've seen I'm more of one of the optimists in the group in a lot of ways. The AI thing is overblown, and I'm 100% there with you on that. But it is something that has and will continue to, for many more years, change the way people work, especially in a white collar sense. It will change blue collar some as well, but it'll change especially white collar work completely over time. It doesn't mean replace it. It changes the way white collar people think in order to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
One, getting the idea from sci-fi, I actually do think that one of the things that we will be moving towards is like the idea of an AI companion being something that people use. And what I'm saying is, it's like probably something like connected to a headset that potentially has like some visual overlay, like some glasses or something.
Yeah, some AR overlay.
Yeah, it's like one of those AI companions you get in video games like Jarvis, or like Jarvis for Iron,
Yeah.
And there's some in Halo, just like something which is communicating with you about the world around you, giving you information that you might need and stuff like that.
Right.
There's some potential use for AI there, but what I think is important is that we AI generative text does not appear to align with human interest in that area. So, because we often have AI creating misinformation and stuff, so I think, in developing technology like that, we want to make AI that's more sightings, that's more
citationally based for research.
Yes, more citationally based, more tied to the sources.
For research especially. Right.
Yeah, and not so much research, just like giving you information about this might be useful in this current situation that I see you're in.
Yeah, so recommendational. Yeah. The one thing though, I think that this can help in a lot of ways, like you were talking about, but I'm actually more interested personally, and this is part of this because I'm an artist and what I do, and everything. But like I think the biggest thing that it helps is as a verbal sounding board. When I say verbal, I just mean language. It's a verbal sounding board for what you're doing, not necessarily feedback. That's the other thing. A lot of people think, oh, AI is just going to tell you it's great. It's true. That's what they do. That's not what I mean. When I say a sounding board, what I mean is I give a vague idea and ask for 6, 7, 8, 9, however many completions of what I'm saying, so that I can see multiple paths of where this vague idea ends up leading. You see what I'm saying? Therefore, my imagination has more paths and more information that I can then draw on and generate further. I think that's far more the way, here's an example in a very practical sense. Mom has to do dinner, right? And she has to plan dinner for the next several weeks because her schedule is absolutely slammed. She takes a picture of what's in the fridge, says, here's my budget for groceries. I need this many meals. Go. Give me those examples and give me 6 other options that I can swap in and out. And it'll give you options for recipes based on all of that, and a shopping list based on your budget. You see what I'm saying? And so you have a vague idea of where you want to go. You ask for extra options. You ask for, all this extra information to be synthesized and put out in a way that is actually more helpful to you in the moment than doing the detail work. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think that is more of how a CEO would work, who actually owns a company that can have his peons do stuff, right? That's how a king does stuff. And if we all start thinking more like kings in that way, things are going to change in the way we deal with each other in society in all kinds of ways, good and bad. But the point is, that's going to change. And I think it's really going to separate the people who can think that way from the people who cannot think that way, even more so than they are now. And that's going to be very interesting to see how that happens, and how education in the liberal arts, in the way of thinking and rhetoric and all of that is going to be immensely helpful, far more than it ever was even before, you know? Being able to think and speak in the abstract and explain and communicate. Communication is huge, you know? And if you can communicate your ideas, yes, it's a little bit different to a machine, but they still work on natural language and they're trying to get it more toward natural language, right? And so all of that's going to be really important. Being able to clearly communicate an idea to a person and to a machine and to anyone you come in contact with. That's more wisdom-based economy, you know? So we'll see what happens with an unwise people getting thrust into a wisdom-based economy.
Yeah. You just read the Duffleputz chapter, right?
Yes, I did. Yes, good
Well, your
point
reference
taken.
there,
Good point.
If we plant baked potatoes, they will be quick when we dig them up.
Yep.
I remember one time I used I had a back and forth conversation with ChatGPT about one story idea that I had. Maybe I should do this more. Called what was it called? The Prince of Narsen is what the story was, and basically I wanted to read the plot, you could say. And so I was having a conversation back and forth with it to get a full outline. I don't know where. Oh, that's where I stopped. And yeah, it was a pretty productive conversation. It got me to actually write the story again, but then I wasn't. Then my desire to write that story died out. It was originally envisioned as a stage play. So I had some limitations about the kind of scenes I could put in there, was one of the ideas. But, it just got, a lot of the stories that I write get too dark for me, and then I stop writing them. I mean, I need to figure out how to avoid that, but just not writing as dark of stories. It was a very interesting one.
Yeah. So stories. I was gonna say, are you gonna get to the one that you wanted to share with us?
Yeah. I don't think anyone else is gonna show up.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. So the main thing here, I guess I am writing this from first person perspective, but it's like this guy is telling it to his children, the story to his children or something. I don't know exactly who, but the current working title for this series, I guess, is The Story of Zakur. A few other possible titles are The Book of the Forest, The Sword of Simeon, and the second part of this is going to be called Alara's Wish. That is a romantic story. But you'll get the basic idea. It will be very obviously connected to Earth. But, this is the introductory chapter that explains this character's background and how he's connected to Earth and to this fantasy world. And I'm just trying to think, should I expand this section where he's being introduced, or is what I have enough? I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with this story, but, just writing it, adding to it.
Yep.
All right. So, chapter 1. All fits on one page, so it shouldn't be long. I was a slave in the kingdom of Egypt, a member of the people of the Hebrews, of the nation of Israel, of the tribe of Simeon, before I was taken by the dragons to this place. My people were not like any other people, For the Lord God, the creator of heaven and earth, had chosen us to be his own. And he brought us into the land of Egypt in the days of our father Jacob to save our lives. But as his descendants lived in that place, we began to worship the gods of the Egyptians and to abandon the worship of our creator. But when I was brought to this place, I came to know that the words and the deeds of our fathers, which spoke of the creator and our covenant, were true. These sayings had faded into myths and legends. They were tales told around the fire, but not ones which we truly believed. For when I came to this place, I perceived that they believed that the world was created in 7 days. And when I learned this, I was shocked, for this was also the teaching of the fathers of my people. And when I investigated further and saw that the days you honored were the same, and in the same order as those which were expressed by my fathers, I learned that they also must have known the only God. Furthermore, as 2 of your elders testified, in ancient times the earth was full of wickedness, for what we thought were angels had descended down to earth and mixed with humankind, producing a race of giants. And because they mixed with other beasts, they also produced many monsters. This world of evil was destroyed by a great flood which covered the whole earth, during which time most of your elders awoke. After this time, the men of earth also built a great tower, which was meant to rise all the way up to the throne of God. And because we made this vain attempt at waging war against our Creator also confused our language so that no man could understand his neighbor, and by this means he forced us to spread all over the earth. After this, God saw that there was one race upon the earth which had not served the idols, and which had not gone up to build the tower. And that race was the race of our father Heber, the father of the Hebrews. But even though our race had rejected the tower, his descendants began to worship idols not long after his death, so that there was now nobody on earth who worshipped God alone. Right? So there was now nobody who worshipped God alone left upon the whole earth. But then our father Abraham, as he was serving the idols, suddenly perceived that the idols that he worshipped were nothing but silver and gold, and that there was no God in them. So immediately he abandoned them, and perceiving the Creator, he began to worship him alone, and he taught his household to do likewise. Now God perceived that Abraham and Abraham alone of all people served him, and for this reason he came to him and made him a promise that he would make Abraham a father of many nations, and it was so. And Abraham had a son named Isaac, and Isaac had a son named Jacob, and Jacob had 12 sons. And his third son, Simeon, is also the father of my tribe. But my nation and my tribe have abandoned the Lord, as have all others. And because we did this thing, God put it into the heart of the king of Egypt, whom we served, to make my tribe and my people slaves. I was to escape the grueling torment of this slavery when I was constructing some city wall, and the dragons came speaking to me in my own language. And they asked me if I wished to go to the place where they were from, a kingdom of peace and plenty, where no man was made a slave. And at first I was suspicious of them, thinking that they were some deceiving spirit. But after I saw that they were flesh, I trusted them and went with them, wherever they would go. 4 other Egyptians went with me, but no other member of my nation trusted themselves to the wings of the dragon. So that is the first chapter.
Yeah, interesting. I'm not one usually for sword and sandal Old Testament fiction stuff, but you're kind of making it specific enough and detached enough from scripture that it does actually interest me. But go ahead.
So I think you can get the idea of what's going on. I just, I don't know if it should be expanded to have more of the story of him being a slave, or if it's good where it is. And also the conversation that led him to goes.
Well, it's sort of written as it's kind of epistolary, right? Like it's written as like a journal or a letter or something, right? Like that kind of a thing.
I guess.
Yeah. So you're not really looking to put it in dialogue necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Okay. If you do, then having a little bit more of that could spice it up. But if not, you don't have to. The other thing that stood out to me, what was the beginning specifically, like as far as his connection to, like, who was he talking to when he realized they had the same basic mythology?
Who was he talking to when he realized he had the same basic mythology?
Yeah. How did he get that? How did he come to that conclusion? What was the story there again? That was part that I kind of missed a little bit.
So, me actually laying out the story of how he learned that comes right at the beginning of the next chapter.
Right. Okay.
So this first chapter is just him explaining, like, giving a basic introduction of himself, and it's basically his thesis for the work.
Right.
I had, I don't know exactly who it's written to. I think my first idea was that he was writing it to a allied city. I won't go more into detail on what that city is right now because it would just be overloading. But the basic idea is he's starting out by saying, "This is who I am. You already know who I am, kind of, the people he's writing to, and you already know what I believe, and this is why I believe what I believe, and also here is why I think I have something special to say."
Got it.
Yep. That's the other thing. He's introducing himself like, I have something special to say because unlike every other person whom you brought to your planet, my ancestors believed the same thing you did, and there's no explanation for that except that.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So the story of how he comes to know that they have the same mythology is not explained until the next chapter. But that's not the purpose of this chapter.
Yeah, I like that it's very character focused. Obviously it's first person, but it's like this is unraveling something about a single person at the moment, instead of a vast mythology. Like he talks about a mythology, he goes through it and whatever, but this is about his experience and what he believes, and that wrapper really helps in the way that you're going about, you're laying out the mythology and the connections and the other things that you usually do, which is great. Like those are all great. You always do a good job, but it's usually missing something personal because this is wrapped in the epistolary style. It's coming off as more authentic. So that is very good.
Okay.
Any thoughts, Abby?
No, not really. Sounds interesting. Forgot what I was going to say. Oh, the planet thing. I didn't realize there was another planet at first. The clarification on that was good.
Yeah, that would have been if you want, I can read the part of the first part of the second chapter. It's about the same length, and it would give you more context on the world he's coming into. Because the only things I say about this world that he's coming into, the fantasy world, in the first chapter, is that dragons brought him to it, and they have the same mythology about creation.
Yeah,
so that's pretty much the only thing I say about it. So yeah, you're not going to get much. A bit more is introduced in the second chapter. I can read the introduction. It's about the same length if you want.
I'm good either way. I'll let her decide. Yeah. Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, we'll listen.
All right. So, chapter 2. Now, while I was under the wings of the dragon, Time passed as if in a single moment, and as I perceived it, on the morning that I began my journey with them, on that very same morning I arrived in the seven worlds. But when I arrived, I was greeted by one of the elders, and she spoke to me in my own tongue, greeting me with joy as if I was a familiar friend. Zakur, she said, without me giving her my name. I have been waiting to greet you because of the wonders of your language. For unlike every other language on Earth, and on your planet, your fathers began to write down your language in the form of an alphabet, and it was so much easier for me to write a book for you, introducing you to our language by means of your own. And you will find that our language possesses no alphabet. But when you come to understand it, you'll be able to make one which you can give to us, since you understand the nature of letters. And I said to the elder, how do you know my name, since I never spoke to you? And how did you write a book for me? How did you know that I would come, seeing that in the same day that I left my home, no, in the same moment that I entrusted myself to the wings of the dragon, I arrived in this place. How did you know that I would come? And the elder said to me, for you, it seemed that only a moment has passed, but in truth, 40 years have passed. For the dragons which went to gather you up left this world 80 years ago. And after 40 years, they came to your world. And after 40 more years, they returned. But from your perspective, the sun has not yet set upon the day when you left. I do not know why it works this way, but similar experiences have been consistently reported by everyone who travels with the light. And the Elder of Light says this is a natural consequence of the nature of light, but I do not understand it. But I have known that some would come, not for 40 years, but for 80. And when the dragons gathered up 50,000 men from the face of the earth to bring them here, visions came to me, revealing to me their language and the identity of each one. And for those who knew how to read, I wrote them a book in their own language. But for those who do not know letters, I must now begin to teach them the language of my people. So please take this book which I have given you and begin to study it. And when you have made an alphabet for our language, bring it to me, so that I may teach it to my people and to yours. So I took the book which the elder had given me, and I began to read it. And I saw that it was written neatly in the Hebrew script. And from it I learned many things about the seven worlds. The book began saying, to Zakur, the Hebrew of the tribe of Simeon, born in the land of Egypt, from Denaliah the sixth elder. It is easier to explain to you the language of my people than to explain it to any other, for you have listened to the traditions of your fathers, and because they were favored by God, they possessed the same knowledge which we possess regarding the origin of all things. For we know, just as you know, that God created the heavens and the earth and ordered all things over the course of 7 days. Then after briefly explaining the 7 days, she says, we know these things because we were created after your father Adam fell. For when he became disobedient, God created servants who would be obedient out of the dust, and he gave them the powers which resided in creation because they were obedient. And he gave us these 7 worlds where we live today. And I'll stop the reading there because I'm not sure if anything after that I'm going to keep.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah.
Which document was this, Aaron?
What?
What document was this?
It's a document I had on my laptop. I can put it in the Google Docs right now.
Do so.
So.
Yeah, this is one that he said he just started writing for the sake of writing, and he did he read the first chapter and then the part of the beginning of the second, and seems interesting. Yeah, it's more, basically a story about a guy who from the tribe of Simeon who got sailed away by a bunch of space dragons.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No, we had been discussing something of that nature. I was wondering where he was taking it.
Yes. Specifically, during the sojourn in Egypt, right after they became slaves.
Okay, so you got to give me the Cliff's Notes since I came in late.
So basically, this guy, Zakur, which is a name I found in the Bible.
Okay.
This guy named Zakur he is one of the slaves of Egypt, and he is of the tribe of Simeon. And dragons arrive and basically ask and tell him that they can take him away from this land where his people are being enslaved.
Set an open course for the Virgin Sea. Anyway.
And Zakur is like, all right, I'll go with you guys. And the conversation, it's not written out. This is kind of an epistle being written to some of his allies. And he goes to the seven worlds. From his perspective, it happens all in a single moment, but it's actually been 40 years because he's traveling at the speed of light. And when you do that, you don't experience time. So when he arrives in the seven worlds, he's all confused. And the sixth elder immediately comes up to him and gives him a book and starts talking to him in his own language and says, read this book. It will teach you the language of the Bible.
So sixth elder, that would be Eden, wouldn't it?
No, that would be the witch.
So that's even worse.
Yes, before she turns bad.
Okay.
So she says, take this book. It's in your own language. You'll use it to learn ours. And then once you understand our language, you're going to make an alphabet for our language. And he's like, okay. Pretty confused. He reads the book, and its opening basically talks about how she has great faith in his ability to understand their language because he has the same creation mythology. And if he keeps that creation mythology in mind, the 7 days of creation, he'll have a much easier time understanding how the language is structured. And that is what has been written so far.
Okay, gotcha. I'm up to speed.
Sweet. So, what's been up with you, Daniel?
Work. Spending too much money. I'm fine. I'm doing okay. My bad financial months now look nothing like what they looked like a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. It's like, oh no, I spent $200 on fast food this month.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not good, but I'm still gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I got everything covered. But I'm off work, making some returns. Getting my Christmas gift for a gift exchange tomorrow.
Nice. Very cool, very cool. Oh man. Let's see, tomorrow another Poets at War drops. I have to do stuff for that. That will likely be the last major thing that I need to do before Christmas time. I'll have a few things next week. Nothing crazy. Church media, a couple other small things, but yeah, things have been going fairly smooth. I've been like I said to the other two, trying to help with the house, trying to help with Casey and the kids, and help them have a little bit more relaxing of a time. I did I don't know if y'all saw it in the Brood, but I did a Powerpuff Girl themed tabletop roleplay with the kids. We haven't finished it yet, but we started it. Basically, it's the Powerpuff Girls go into a weird mishmash of Narnia
Hello?
slash Townsville. Who said hello? Daniel?
Yeah.
No, hello.
Yes, can you hear me,
Can you
Daniel?
hear us?
I'm right here.
Okay, you're breaking up somewhat, but
What kind of? I can hear you. Can you?
yes, I can hear you, but it's like I said, you're breaking
Can you hear
up
me
a
better
bunch.
now?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
So,
Hello.
so you were asking what kind of tabletop role play? It was Powerpuff Girls themed.
No. Okay. I'm sorry. Can you hear me any better at this moment?
Yes,
We're hearing you just fine.
we're hearing you fine now.
Okay. I was asking what system, like what rule set did you?
I had one made up by ChatGPT, but it's not ChatGPT, Gemini, but you know what I mean. So it was.
Gotcha.
I have a bunch of dice of all different kinds, and I have a full card deck, and I asked it to come up with something. Basically, the system was that for battles and things that I want them to go for, it's based around sugar, spice, and everything nice. 3 categories. They get a dice based on their level of proficiency in sugar, spice, and everything nice. Sugar being anything that's like kinder in any sense, like healing or persuasion. Spice being, you know, punching. And
Of course. I love
everything.
that.
And then everything nice being like magic, like Blossom's ice breath. So Blossom has a slight advantage in that and is less proficient in others. Buttercup's better with the spice, and Bubbles is better with the sugar, right? So that's kind of the idea. And so basically, though, they can get their dice upgraded if they roll the maximum and finish their battle. And the cards, you have 3 cards at any one time. And red numbered cards are you get a +1 to any roll that you throw. You can add it on a +1. The black cards are a block. You can automatically block an attack. And the face cards are anything that you want to do technically can go through. The interesting thing with that is those don't work on bosses, and the but they can let you negate certain things. You basically get to negotiate with the GM. And if you're facing someone else who has, you know, cards, which we did some practice rounds with that, the face cards essentially like contradict and then bring it back down to a tie. So we've had face card, you know, like trumping each other, you know, back and forth, you know. So that was basically how it worked. Very, very simple. And then we role played in between. But the idea that I was running with was like basically the girls go from Townsville in through the wardrobe into what is essentially Narnia, except it's populated by analogs of the people that they already know in Townsville in a similar way to like how the Wizard of Oz, right? You know how she meets people like they're from Kansas, but they're in they're completely different people in the Wizard of Oz, but they have the same personalities and whatnot. Yeah, basically that. So the mayor is Tumnus the Fawn, and his name is Pickles. So yeah, basically stuff like that. It's pretty fun. I'm guessing Daniel was having issues with his headphones, so.
That does sound like an interesting game.
What'd you say, Daniel? Just yes?
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear us?
I'm just having a bunch of connectivity issues with the Bluetooth devices floating around me, and it keeps ping-ponging from one thing to the next, and then, yeah.
Gotcha. Well, hopefully you get that sorted soon. What were you saying, Abby?
That sounds like a fun game. But I also real quick back to Aaron's story.
Yeah.
A little it sounds really cool, especially I just finished reading like Out of the Silent Planet, and looking more into like space fantasy sagas, kind of. All I was wondering though was maybe like in this chapter, does he get to see anything of this planet? Like, are the dragons blue and green, or like a little bit of description?
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Pardon me.
yeah, that's another thing. I just don't, I don't know what he gets to see yet. I don't really know what the scene looks like right now. So
Yeah, so
all
you're
I
working
really
on that.
know is that he gets
Me.
accosted by an elder that somehow knows his own language and gives him a book that's written in his alphabet, and he's reacting to that. That's all I know right now. I can't tell you what the scene looks like. I'm not sure.
Fair enough. You're working on it. I understand. Oh boy.
So anyway, yeah, that was the only thing I was thinking. Sorry.
You know what it also kind of reminds me of a little bit?
What?
Just the very slightest bit, just kind of just the whole like intergalactic dimensional travel thing, people sharing stuff with each other, journals. Reminds me of the Myst series, like the video games. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I only know what that is because you preached to me about it enough times. But yep.
Yeah, it reminds me of that. Do you know about that, Aaron?
No.
Oh, okay. It's basically like one of the greatest puzzle games of all time. It's one of the first that was in like a 3D environment back during like Windows 95 days and stuff like that. And so it's a fairly famous series, and they've done some books and things. It's an interesting story. It's very kind of esoteric puzzles and worlds. It's kind of like this place where the basic plot, if I could sum it up really quickly, the idea is there's something called the art, which is essentially being able to write your own worlds into these books that you can actually enter into and interact with and live inside of. And certain people know how to do it, and it's passed down through these ancient civilizations, and there's all kinds of secrets and politics and everything else involved. And yeah, that's basically kind of what it comes down to ultimately, as far as a scenario. There's a lot of other characters and things, but that's just kind of the basic idea. What it really is ultimately is an analogy for coding video game worlds. But like you're writing books instead of, writing code.
Very nice. What system again?
You can get it on almost anything these days. They still sell them in Steam. You can get them on there's freaking PS1 versions of Myst, like PlayStation 1. It was originally for Windows 95 and like Macintosh of that same period. And there's probably about, I think, a little less than a dozen games that they've ever produced. But yeah, so.
Right on.
Yeah, the one that my dad loved was called Riven. That was the second one. That was his favorite. So.
Right on. So, Abby mentioned something about the visual descriptions. I find that I typically go behind Aaron and I'm coloring in the world behind him. That's what our dynamic has been. Aaron, what tribe did you say he was from again?
Simeon.
Simeon?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Sword of Simeon sounds pretty cool, by the way.
Yeah. It was that or the tribe of Levi, but and for
Well,
a very
Levi has a
particular
lot of
reason.
baggage.
yeah, they're already like, the Levites.
Yeah, so does, but what's the sword, getting to name a part of it the Sword of Simeon, I think is what made me decide on Simeon. But no, it's was going to be Simeon or Levi because of a specific story that happens to in Genesis that gets tied into the story in a particular way. And yeah, the Sword of Simeon just sounds better than anything to do with Levi.
So, okay, this is a Middle Eastern guy, right? Or no? Oh my goodness, brain.
Hebrew, Jewish, Israelite.
Yeah, immediately what I was thinking, but I was second guessing myself. Hebrew, Jewish. Okay. I don't know why my brain wants to make him bald.
Well, he did live in Egypt.
Okay. Anyway, I'll come up with it here. I'll do it whenever my hands are less busy.
But yeah, but that was it. Yeah.
Going back earlier to one of the things that we were talking about with sort of the Route 66 culture, I've seen some videos recently on vehicles that were sold during the time, and a lot of companies were creating and there were obviously bad uses for them too, like if your daughter was dating a guy that had one of these cars, you wouldn't want her to date him because the seats folded down. But the seats folded down, and it was actually marketed. I forget what it was. I think it was a Nash car. NASH was the company. They stuck around for a little while, but the idea was people didn't have to buy a camper, they didn't have to buy a trailer, they didn't have to buy anything like that. If they wanted to go camping, they could just lay their seats down, and you could fit a family of 4 in this big old boat of a car that had seats that all laid down, right, the front and the back, and everything just was nice and comfortable. And the idea was, don't spend money on hotels when you got to travel, and that was a selling point for them to sell a more expensive car. And there were all sorts of innovations and things like that back then that people were taking advantage of the road life. And that was a period where people could more readily afford housing and stuff like that. So it wasn't considered housing, but it was considered legitimately cool that you could just, take a month off and go and, experience the United States and all that kind of that idea is really, really interesting to me. Probably in a lot of ways more interesting than a lot of the walkable city sort of ideas. I like the walkable city ideas. I think that they're so European in scope that all of our best ideas are from modern European cities as opposed to older European cities, and we're not really trying to figure out how to adapt. We're just trying to unilaterally change stuff. Does that make sense?
I zoned out.
You zoned out. It's cool. It's that kind of night. We're all I totally get it.
Thinking, I'm like, oh, road life.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I don't know if you knew this, Abby, but we had a bus we were converting for a while, but we had to sell it for basically financial reasons. We lost our car, and I needed to get to work and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, we had a big 40-foot school bus that we were working on converting, and we just didn't have the money to do a full conversion. I still kind of want to do something. We're talking about the possibility of getting a short bus as sort of a daily driver or something like that as a secondary car when time comes around for our tax return this year, because we need a second car whatever we get. we're trying to look at something bigger, like what we had. We had a van that went out a little while ago. I don't know if you were here for that or not, but we paid off our loan on our car, and literally the next week it completely died.
Oh, wow.
So it was terrible. So, oh man. But yep. We had a minivan, whatever, but even a minivan would still be nice, like whatever we end up getting. So we'll just have to see. I need to be able to travel long distance more. That's really a high priority for us. Because the more places I can get, the more people I can talk to, the more connections I can make, and trying to get Poets at WordPress moving out west eventually, and get more connections and all that stuff. So every time I go to a conference, it's like everything starts ticking up in positive directions. People are like, oh, that guy, I like that guy. He wears that weird hat and a kilt and a Hawaiian shirt, and I remember him, and he's got a very positive vision for the future and what he wants to do. And yeah, I like that guy, so yeah.
That guy in the funny hat.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Did you read my article on why I wear what I wear?
I looked at it. I don't know if I've been trying to read everybody's stuff. I've been trying to keep up with reading everybody's stuff. Mm-hmm. I think I was at work when you shared it or something.
Yeah.
Or I could have been doing something.
Hey, you saw it and you remembered it. That's better than nothing.
Oh, I think it's on my to read later.
Sweet. Yeah, no big deal there.
Well, I
was gonna say I'm never upset when people don't see my stuff, because I put out way too much for people to completely consume anyway. Like, why should I be salty about it? I'm just trying to help everybody I can.
Yeah, but I mean, you want people to see it and they appreciate it.
Sure. Yeah.
And besides that, I like to read people's stuff when they put it out there.
Yeah, me too. I try to read what I can too. It's hard to keep up with everybody, but I try.
I enjoy Ian's blog pretty well.
My problem is I'll start something and then I'll go, ooh, shiny. Then I'll start that and I'll go, ooh, shiny.
I feel that.
So I have a stack of books that are all half done.
Have you finished either Narnia or Lord of the Rings yet? I can't remember.
I'm smack dab in the middle of Prince Caspian. And
then Two Towers?
Finished Two Towers.
You finished Two Towers, right? You haven't started Return of the King yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. This is part of why I'm trying to get into the electrician apprenticeship coming in next year, so that my evenings can be a bit more clear. And I can predict, okay, this is my time I can read. Because even though I have a slow job, it's just, I constantly get pulled away. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Wrong spot.
Well, and depending on whatever jobs you end up with when you actually start being an electrician, if you do, you may be able to have, one earbud in to do what you need to do, depending on what it is you're working on. Obviously, there's safety stuff for certain things and blah, 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 but you'll have some time, I'm sure, to actually be able to audiobook when you want.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to, purely social jobs like you have now, where you're constantly talking to someone or being with someone or listening out for something. So, yeah.
For sure. I had a whole exchange last night where a client, I was walking away from them because, part of what they need is just independence, and you're encouraging them. It's you can do it. I believe in you. You can do that yourself. And then as I'm walking away, they called out, Richard. And I turned so slow, and I was just, what the hell? How do you know my middle name? I never told you that. And they somehow knew my middle name. Somehow. And before I finished the question, did you just read my mind? And then they go, yep.
Well then, interesting.
Yeah, it was creepy. It was really weird. But they all have a little quirk like that. Anyway, I gotta return some stuff. I'll be back.
All right, man. Oh boy. Let's see. Anything y'all are particularly excited about getting for folk that are not in earshot, Christmas present wise?
There are ears everywhere in this house.
Oh no. Hopefully they all belong to human heads and animal heads.
Yeah, I was just saying there's cats too. But otherwise mostly human.
I can't.
So you.
Yeah.
Sister says, "What? That's a regular spy."
I don't trust my volume with headphones on and my children who should be sleeping but probably are not. So.
Right?
Oh boy.
But yeah, I was able to snag what I think are some cool gifts.
Good. Very nice. I'll throw this here. I can do it this way. I'll just link it. I got this thing for mainly Hazel, but also for Peter because they have been getting into a period where they really want more AUDIO in their life.
Well, isn't that just DANDY?
Do what?
So there's this old movie. It's got Bela Lugosi and Patsy Kelly and the Ritz brothers. I don't know if you are familiar with them. It's called The Gorilla.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. But the guy tells the gorilla, it's a gorilla, he's like, "Well, you were bad for that. You don't get any CANDY." And Patsy Kelly says, "Well, isn't that just DANDY?" No, whenever people spell things, I think of that. But that's pretty cool. That's a cool gift.
Yep. So I think that'll go well, and I can make sure she has all the stuff she wants to hear. So
I made an crocheted octopus keychain for one of my coworkers.
Very nice.
I hope she likes it.
I love when people do crochet stuff.
I heard Jesse has a collection of crocheted plague doctors.
That sounds about right. Yep. Stretch.
Yeah, and then I'm just, like I said, I was putting some beads on that cross-hanging thing for my grandma. And some stuff for the other people who can hear me.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm kind of interested. No clue, of course, what she's going to be like. She could be a total opposite of her sign stuff, because obviously that can happen, and it's not like sign stuff actually rules anything. I'm not talking like that, but just tending to, how I am. I've talked to you about this before, Abby. I think I've talked to Aaron about it too. I know I've talked to Daniel, but like the whole Zodiac sign thing, obviously not like any kind of science, any kind of real whatever, but there are just patterns that God's put into the universe for personalities and traits and things. I find it really interesting that Casey and I are both earth signs, so Capricorn, Taurus. We've got 2 kids right now that are air in Hazel and Peter, Aquarius and Pisces. And if Jane is anywhere within any kind of margin of her due date, she's going to be Aries, which is very interesting. Like super crazy fire sign thrown into the mix. I'm like, ooh, that'll be interesting.
I mean, all the people I know who are Aries are pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I like Aries folks. It's just kind of funny. Like, even though most people think of our signs usually as like super laid back, I think Casey's the only one that's actually super laid back in any kind of way.
Are we talking astrology?
I've talked to you about astrology stuff all the time. I'm not talking actual astrology. I'm talking about the patterns that God has put into the universe that are not connected to actual magic, astrology, witchcraft, etc. Okay.
No.
I'm talking about how people who are born in certain birth months and are usually tend to have certain personality traits. That's it.
And honestly, that could be like the weather too. You know, springtime,
yes.
autumn, like, and that isn't stars either. So,
Right. Yes. So there's a lot of stuff there. And so I just, when I'm talking about this stuff, I am not talking anything woo woo. Trust me. You've heard our whole spiel about the man who changed the sky, right, Daniel? Remember that?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I'll go into that another time though. But basically, basically, Cliff Note was with that Aquarius and several other signs used to be in the medieval system governed by Saturn, and then when the discovery of Uranus happened, they changed it to Uranus. They changed they changed the sign to be governed by Uranus, and the whole idea artistically and poetically behind Uranus is like it's a stand against the gods. And then we got the age of Aquarius in the 1960s. I'm just saying.
Oh wait, was this the really, there was a really creepy story that you told me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's I think yes. I think I know the one. I think I know it. It's just back on the back burner, and I'm looking at gift cards trying to find something last minute.
Anyway, but yeah.
I remember this conversation.
Well, basically, it's just there was this guy named Robert Cross Smith who was into a bunch of really, really, really deep occultic stuff, and he seems to be the very first person to attribute Uranus to as the ruling planet of the sign of Aquarius. And about 100 years later, we had the sexual revolution with the song "The Age of Aquarius" and a bunch of other stuff, and it was this general idea of like rebellion against the gods. And it seems like there was a lot of occultic conspiracy between that point and the other point. And that's the long and short of it. There's a lot more to it than that, but I won't go into it right now, but that's kind of just the general gist. These were actual like satanic occultic practicing people, you know. But the thing that's really interesting is these patterns have been universally just about, I mean, the Chinese zodiac is basically almost a 1-for-1. And the other, back pre-flood, we have zodiacs, right? And so the general idea is this is the poetic existence of this time period and season versus this time period and season. And when you're born in this time period or season, it has certain effects on you and the way that you live, and it's just patterns that people notice in history. And
I think as long as you're looking in the retroactive sense of like recognizing the patterns rather than superimposing on everyone of like, because you look like, or because you did this, because you were born in this time,
right?
Then oh my goodness, I cannot for the life of me think what I need to give this guy.
Who are you getting what for?
I'm trying to get a gift card for a coworker, and I think I need to just get one of the like MasterCard gift cards and load that up with a little bit and then hand that over.
Gotcha. He's not asking you to do this over the phone, is he?
No, this is just a work thing.
I know you're smarter than that. I was just joking.
Yes, I know.
Don't redeem it. No.
Oh man.
I had somebody call me while I was at work. They called my work, and it was, "Hello, this is Ryan. I'm going to help you get rid of your college debt." And I'm like, first off, you really sound like a Ryan. But also, the business doesn't have any college debt.
Oh boy, that's funny. You want to know the weirdest scam I've ever had tried to be perpetrated on us? My wife had, so here's, okay, a little bit of weird backstory. Her grandfather, Bobby Sr., bought some land but put it in the name of Bobby Jr., his son. Therefore, there is this piece of land in Tennessee where they have a house and all kinds of stuff. Her grandfather's passed away. It's in the hands of the woman. I think Bobby Jr., my wife's father, my father-in-law, actually sold it to the woman that he ended up marrying toward the end of his life. But point being, there's this piece of land. It's in Carter County, Tennessee, roughly. And Thomas's, the last name Thomas in this area, they are particularly, my wife's maiden name, Thomas. They are particularly infamous, and the police specifically target people with the name Thomas because they're all the way back to low down bootleggers, days, right? Like, this is just a constant thing that this Podunk County has always had a grudge against the Thomases, and it's a real thing. I've actually done some research and witnessed it too. It's kind of crazy. Not that it's not deserved either. Like, a lot of the Thomases are terrible, including my wife's family, some of them. But my wife actually got called by Carter County, Tennessee, with like the real numbers as far as we can tell, and had someone, female, telling her that she owed on a ticket like some kind of amount of money, and that she had to come back in person and deal with it. She calls back like a day later, and they have no record of ever making the call.
Oh, that's interesting.
So yeah, it was very sketchy.
A little.
But they had all kinds of like real information about where she lived and all this other kind of stuff, and verified like all this stuff, and it was like, this has to be someone in the police department scamming someone who hasn't lived there in 5-6 years at that point.
That's weird.
Yeah, no kidding. So we were never able to figure that one out. 1% milk or battery?
Probably batteries.
Daniel.
Maybe.
Let's see here. Got about 20 minutes. I've been making some progress on the musical project and stuff that I'm doing with Jesse and mainly with Jesse and Alex right now, but we're hopefully getting more people to do voices and things, and we've approached a few people and we're excited about that. I'm drafting songs well into the 5th episode, and just kind of waiting on feedback for the main first song, and once I get that done, I'll make my little documentary episode about it, a documentary podcast episode. I think I've talked to y'all about that project a little bit, but it's going well. Just trying to get Jesse and Alex caught up and not berate them too much because holidays.
Right.
So, oh man, but yeah, that's going well.
Yeah, I'm trying to participate in the challenge this month.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because I was really enjoying
this
it.
month again.
Brendan put a song in the challenge. It says, it's a David Arkenstone one, Winter Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just supposed to do a piece of art based off that. It can be visual or writing or like drawing, painting, writing, whatever.
That's right.
Um,
Maybe I can come up with something. I don't know.
Yeah, I've got a poem I want to write, so I'm gonna hopefully do that. The only problem is I kind of want to write it almost Shakespearean, and that would require more effort than I have been putting into it.
Yeah. Well, you could write it out not Shakespearean and then adapt it too.
Yeah, there's that.
Go ahead.
I don't know. It was like mostly the whole thing with like meter and stuff like that is something I have to work on.
Right. I've also been working on for a little while now, just a not generic, but my own personal music album. And I actually have like a plan and a track listing and demos of all the songs. I just need to really begin recording them and editing them and trying to make them, more legit than they are. And that's something that recording is, this is something that's been really coming to me more and more lately is I have made fun of actors and performers of various sorts for a while for not being able to deal with the high stress of, they get precious about like the energy that it actually takes to put out a good performance. And I still think that's true to some extent, but I'm realizing how much actual rest that I need, especially following any kind of length of performance to actually decompress. Otherwise, I get so anxious so quick. The level of anxiety and honestly even close to depression at times that I can just launch into after really putting my heart and soul into something as a performance for even 30 minutes is a lot more than I would like it to be. But I'm trying to learn what is healthy ways to deal with it, and also like quick ways, if there are quick ways. I haven't discovered that yet one way or the other, but quick ways to kind of reset my brain back into workman craftsman space. Instead, yeah. When I did the cantata, which is only like a 35-minute, I think, thing, at church, we did a Christmas cantata that we do every year. I came home and had a whole bunch of extra time and was trying my darndest to just relax and do something on my phone or look at and I don't mean like social media. I was like, I was writing. I was basically in airplane mode, just trying to write some stuff. And like, I couldn't do anything productive, like at all, or even like interesting to me. That was the other thing. I couldn't do anything relaxing. I couldn't do anything interesting. I couldn't do anything that required any kind of thought. It was like your brain needs to rest. You literally put your heart and soul in all. And I'm like, I don't want to. And so I just had a really hard time coming off of that performance. And there are some things that are harder than others, but that one was really bad for whatever reason. And I think that's another reason why I'm having a hard time recording during the day outside of just like, random noise from the kids and combating all that. I have a hard time thinking like an editor, thinking like a craftsman, thinking like someone who is doing any of the other normal work that I do after I have given a vocal, especially character-driven performance. And so I tend to put it at the end of the day, at the in the nighttime. And so I'm trying to figure out, how am I going to deal with this going forward? Go ahead.
Have you tried doodling?
That's an interesting question, because
sometimes it's really weird. It helps me decompress.
Yeah. I have not done what you would call doodling for a really long time. As far as actually trying to draw, I haven't done that in 5 or 6 years. I kind of just gave up after a while. I have done a little bit here and there, but that was just when I couldn't get a camera angle for like an AI kind of a thing, and I really needed to kind of just illustrate that. And so it's just one of these things where that skill has always been so tertiary that, and I had no patience for it, that I just kind of stopped. It doesn't necessarily mean that I don't like doing that. It's worth a shot, but it's
I
not
was saying,
something that immediately sparks my interest either.
not for like drawing a picture or anything like that, but like literally
right.
just like sitting there and like, oh, there's a circle, there's a square, there's a squiggly line attached to it, like, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's worth a shot.
Because it's something that helps me sometimes with like focusing and brainstorming and like I said, decompressing as well.
My favorite thing to do is role play. That actually really, really helps. I never have anyone to do it with. And when I say role play, I just mean like basic either text back and forth or even verbally speak back and forth, a character in a scenario and just describing it, and I've done that some with LLMs. And the problem is eventually they, and I have some good ones that will last a while, but they eventually revert back where they don't have the context anymore. And I know ways and tricks to get around that and to reset the context essentially. But once I do it once or twice, the resetting the context, which honestly can get me through 1 or 2 days realistically, but once I have to reset the context, it just kind of loses its magic. I had a friend who, when I was 16 through 23, 24, something like that, he was a really close friend. We met online and we did the pro wrestling role play stuff that I've talked about before, and we would role play our own stories on the side, just with a chat box or AOL Instant Messenger or stuff like that, right?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he and I are really close that way. He's got a lot going on, but we talk every now and then. He's not really Brood adjacent in any kind of way. He's done a little bit of like rap and stuff, but he was never like fantasy interested and whatever else, and so it doesn't really. And he's super shy. That's the other thing. He's like super anxious, shy dude in a lot of ways, but we got along super well. He converted. He became a Christian through a combination of a horrible year in his life and me being there for him. He came to Christ. I don't know where he's at now as far as all that, but I hope he's still going hard. Like I said, we talk every now and then, but I can never really tell. So. But yeah, I miss that. And my wife is just not someone who has fun acting and playing a character. She can, but it's work for her. It's not fun. And my kids are more in that category, but I can't do really depthy stories with them yet. They don't have the patience for it. They don't have the lived experience in a lot of ways, and they don't have as big enough imagination to do like the really depthy stories that I get a lot of rush from, So that would be my preferred way, but it's not always feasible. So yeah, I got Brood people, but I don't want to take up a ton of y'all's time. Everyone's complaining about not having enough time anyway, so.
Yeah, especially this season with all the holidays.
Yeah. Well, it seems like that's just a big issue with everybody is like, this is the weird thing. It's not that I don't get distracted. I get distracted like everybody else. But the dyslexic kind of just, I have more of the maladaptive daydreaming than like actual ADHD, oh look squirrel shiny thing, right? I'm like, I'm not comfortable. Okay, retreat into myself. That's a cool idea. That's a cool idea. And then 5 minutes later, oh, right, I was doing a thing. So that's more of what I experience. And because I'm self-employed and can kind of dream up whatever I want and have a computer in front of me to actually like put it down on digital paper whenever I want, the maladaptive daydreaming tends to be shorter because I don't have to use so much brain power. I can just put it down real quick as a note somewhere. And that's the way I've been able to solve stuff, is essentially digital journaling, for lack of a better term. And then having a process to process my journalings into actual to-do tasks, right? So yeah, I've kind of cracked that one, but doesn't mean I don't still daydream.
Yeah.
So what about you? Are you more squirrel? Are you more it has to be perfect and I'm going to spend way too much time on it? Or are you the sort of like maladaptive daydreaming like I do? Or a combination?
That depends entirely on what I'm doing, I guess. Maybe.
Do what?
I said maybe.
Maybe some of those.
I definitely do the daydreaming occasionally, but also I get caught up with like OCD type of things.
Gotcha.
And shiny objects. I don't know if it's an ism.
Little bit of everything, yeah. Well, dyslexia is my big thing, and it really just has to do with like I'm less noticing things. Like I think that's really like, ooh, shiny. I'm noticing a thing about a thing. And I'm more actually noticing the connection between various things. Oh, that's connected to this because of this trait, you know, and then that turns into, you know, poetic maladaptive daydreaming.
I used to do this thing with my customers. In Miami, I worked at a sandwich shop, and you get customers from all over the world there. And I would try to figure out where they're from, or like I would figure out something about them while I was talking to them, and they would get a kick out of it. Like this one guy was wearing the plaid ring, you know, the hands with the heart and the crown.
Yeah, the Claudia ring, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, you know, you got that kind of ring. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, I go to Ireland or whatever. It was like fun. So
yeah.
Other guy. The accents were fun too.
Yep.
But it was the noticing this bit about this thing or that, and it was fun. Made my job more interesting.
When I worked at Publix, do you know Publix or no? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
you have some there?
No, not in Texas. They had them in Miami.
Miami, yeah. I worked at Publix, and one of the things that I like to do as a bagger or cashier, depending on the situation, was if I got a total that was between, I forget the year now, but like 1781-ish, whatever, when George Washington first became president, and today, I would try to name the president roughly from that period because I know them all in order. I do still know them all in order because of a song. I
know most of them.
Yeah. So, but I know it because of the Animaniacs song. You remember the Animaniacs?
Nah.
No. Okay. They're cartoon, but they did a president song to the tune of the William Tell Overture, and it has a bunch of funny anecdotes about each president.
Okay.
It's really catchy and funny. But I would basically like try to figure it out, and then I'd say it out loud, like, Chester Arthur, and they're like, what? And I'm like, president, XYZ date, and they're like, oh. And it was awkward and funny,
you're weird.
and it just entertained me. You know what I mean? Like,
and then they're like, then they go home and they tell whoever's there, like, okay, so this is a weird guy at the checkout.
Yep. Because most people didn't actually wanted to be talked to. Like, you do your hi, hello, do you find everything okay, whatever, and then it's like they don't want to talk to you.
Oh, I know. It's depressing.
It is. It's very depressing. So this was my way of getting in their head whether they liked it or not.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll just start talking to the cashier. So I'll be like, so blah 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 blah. Because like they'll have so many people before me that it's just like nothing.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's got to be fun.
Oh man, I actually had one guy, because I did that, give me a silver $1.
Oh, that's cool.
Because he was like, oh, so you know the presidents? I'm like, yeah, here, have one.
Kennedy.
Yep. So yeah, it's Kennedy on the main silver $. There's obviously other variants, but he's
from before Kennedy.
Yeah, I have Kennedy. I have a Kennedy silver $, but yeah, I still have.
I accidentally got one of those as change in, like I said, in Miami. There's a lot of foreigners, right? So there was a Russian guy working at Walgreens, and he gave me one of those instead of a quarter.
Nice. There's a very big difference between those two things.
Yeah. It was cool.
Yep. Yeah.
Sometimes the people would be like, we have a bunch of American change, but can you help us figure this out? Maybe like, yeah, like tourists and stuff.
I think the oldest wheat penny I ever found was 1902.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that was
I had a jar of 237 wheat pennies. And I think my oldest one was 1908.
Nice.
And I had 3 of the steel ones from 1943.
I don't know if I ever got to tell you, but my pastor has the pastor that I grew up under, he has a friend who owns an extremely, extremely priceless rare book that just reminded me of like wheat pennies and things like that, whatever. But this so during the Reformation, the Geneva Bible was the main thing for a long time, and it had footnotes written by various, Westminster divines and other people who were, reformers that wrote these, little commentaries, very, very short, just explaining what it says. And those were the Geneva footnotes. So the King James Version came out, and it did a lot of editing of, passages that are besmirching tyranny and other sorts of things. And, not a ton, not to the point where it really destroyed the Bible or anything, but like they made it the only version. You could only have KJV, during that time, and they were banning trade on anything else. Well, a lot of the merchants knew that people still wanted the Geneva footnotes, and so they actually started commissioning and printing KJVs with the Geneva footnotes. And they're extremely, extremely rare. Yeah. But my pastor's friend actually has one from the period.
That's great.
Yeah. So really, really rare. Well, it's about 10:30. I need to get going and checking on Casey and all that other kind of stuff. Is there anything else before I go, y'all?
I don't know. Yes, sir.
No, nothing much. I don't know. I started talking to Chat GPT about planet names. I asked it to continue the story I just shared with you guys, and
Yeah.
having a conversation about extension. So
Nice. Well, in that regard, you guys have a great night, and like I've said before, you can stick around if you want to. We'll talk soon, all right? Love you all, and if I can pray for you about anything, just message me.
Alrighty, have a good one.
All right, bye.